Hi guys, and welcome back to the Free Table Corner. Today we are going to expand the terrain that we use on our board. We are going to build a building for the Mordheim table. And as you can see here, we have started. We have built a tower and a tavern and a small barn. But in a Mordheim city there is probably also some suburbans. So today we are going to build a small house, but the way I'm creating that small building is pretty much the same as for these larger buildings, so it's just to scale up. So I will show you step by step how I build it, and you can follow along, and it's just to, as I said, scale up. Just a little thing before we get started. If you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel and give this video a like. See you in the building session.
The first thing we need is a thick paper or cardboard. One important thing to consider at this initial stage is making enough room for hands to move miniatures inside the house. Therefore, I usually make the houses slightly larger than the normal scale, but not so large that they look out of place. The advantage of this is that these buildings can be used both for the 28 and 32mm scales. I also use miniatures during the design phase to see how the house will look. This is an upcoming 28mm Marienburger that will soon be painted and sent into the treacherous alleys of Mordheim. Here you can see how a miniature will look like inside a house. In real life the roof would be a bit lower, but here we make it a little bit higher. Now it's time to draw all the walls of the house. I use a scalpel to remove all the parts, but a sharp knife or scissors will also work well. Now that all the parts of the house are cut out, it's time to make it look like a ruin by cutting away parts of the walls. Here you need to draw how you envision a ruin would look like. I will break 3 walls for this building while keeping one short wall intact. Then I will just take out the knife again and cut away what shouldn't be there. It's a good idea to think about how you cut out parts of the walls to ensure they look consistent and, most importantly, natural. Here you can see how I chosen to damage this building. I have also cut out the door and some windows. To assemble all the parts I use masking or paper tape. I do this by attaching one part of the tape to a wall and the other part to the floor. I do this all around before raising the walls and taping them to each other. Here you can see how the frame of the house looks like, with all the walls raised and the door and windows cut out. Now it's time to cut the frames for the door and windows. It is important to remember that there should be frames both on the outside and on the inside of the house. I use a type of square balsa wood, which I measure to the correct length and then cut to size. Then it's just a matter of gluing all the parts together so that it looks like the doors and windows have frames. I use a hot glue gun for this because I need the glue to dry quickly. And here is how the building looks once all the frames are in place. It is slowly but surely starting to look more and more like a house. Now it's time to add the floors and walls inside the house. For this I use coffee stirrers. I tried both ice cream sticks and other things, but I found that coffee stirrers look most natural considering the scale for which we are making these buildings. I use wood glue to glue the floors and walls in place. This glue takes longer to dry than a hot glue gun, which is good because I need a bit more time to make everything look as natural as possible. And this is how it looks when the interior is completely covered with wood. The building will be much sturdier if you use the thin sheets to make the frame. Finally, the time has come for my favorite part of making miniature buildings: gluing on many tiny bricks. You might think I'm odd, but this is truly a therapeutic work. I cut all the bricks from XPS foam sheets. I use a hot wire cutter, but you can also cut them out with a scalpel or a sharp knife. It just takes a bit longer. When I cut them out, I usually do it by eyeballing where the cut should be. I don't want all the bricks to be at the same size, as I imagine that in the old days all such stones were hand carved, and there were probably many different ways of doing this, so that no stones were identical. As you can see, the stones we will use are not very large. When you have made enough bricks, they will all have straight edges without any nicks or scratches. To make them look less like they came straight from the hot wire cutter, I take them all apart and put them into a box. Inside the box I place some stones. Then I put a lid on and shake well until the bricks have small scratches, marks and damages. This way they look like they were hand carved. Now it's time to glue the bricks on the outer walls of the house. I use the same wood glue I used on the walls and floor. The first bricks I glue is the side of the house. Here I have one row that stands vertically. Then I glue all the other stones horizontally. I don't lay the stones directly on top of each other, but try to place them so that the stone above overlaps half with the two stones below. This way it looks much more natural. Here you can see the entire building covered with stone. I have placed some stones directly on top of each other, so you can see how it shouldn't look. Compared to the rest of the building, this does not look natural. Now it's time to get rid of the purple color. First I spray the building with black spray, then white. For this I only use some cheap spray cans I bought at the hardware store. You do not need to use your best miniature spray for this. Then I will cover the entire building with a brown color, both inside and out. For this I use Vallejo's Parasite Brown, but you can use the color you think suits your games best. I use an airbrush when applying the colors, but this can also be done well with a regular brush. Just remember to thin the paint a bit. After spraying on the brown, it's time to spray only the bricks. For this I also use Vallejo color, this time German grey. I cover the brown color fairly well, but make sure some of it shines through. Next I bring out a brush and the color leather brown from my army painter and paint all the frames on the windows and doors. Finally I grab one of the makeup brushes I stole from my wife and dry brush the entire building with a white color. Now the building is finished and ready for the table.
So there you have it, the small building finished and ready to be played with at the table corner. I hope you found it interesting and I hope you'll see you in the next one. Bye!